Ratchet and Clank A Crack in Time is considered to be the best in the series by many. When I originally played this back in the day, I didn't agree with the general consensus. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but the Clank levels ruined my experience. 11-year-old me struggled big time with these puzzles, so I wasn't too happy about them. Released back in 2009, A Crack in Time is currently sitting at an 87 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is great, but all the Ratchet games are reviewed very well, so it's nothing new. It's difficult to find sales, but I'd imagine it sold pretty comparably to the rest of the series, as there were 3 more releases within the next 4 years, in All for One, Q-Force and Into the Nexus. Anyways, let's find out if I'm smarter than 11-year-old me and can beat the puzzles that frustrated me so much. Full spoilers ahead. Last we left off, Clank was taken away by the Zony, and there's a whole interstitial title called Quest for Booty, which is definitely the best title for all the Ratchet games. And I won't bore you with a video on that game, but basically, Ratchet teams up with Talwyn to find Clank, and turns out his memory was wiped and that the Zony have asked Dr. Nefarious to help fix it. Which means yes, one of the best villains in mascot platforming is back, and I absolutely love him. On a side note, I think a series ago, Ratchet and Clank and Sonic have the 2 best voice casts. All the performances are iconic, and it's one of the many reasons why I love this series so much. I played Tools of Destruction on the PS3, but I whipped out PS Now for this game, and honestly I'm surprised at how well it worked. Most of the time the game ran at a consistent frame rate with some noticeable resolution drops, but I didn't have much issues with it at all. Connection never dropped or anything like that. Now I do have 500 meg broadband, so that will play a massive part in the utility of PS Now. I still never felt 100%, and I could feel I was streaming it, but having no other alternative, it's a great option to have. If you want chill content on a variety of games from indie AA all the way up to AAA, then please subscribe, it would mean a lot. We begin by taking control of Clank, which is a first for the series I believe. Unless you count Secret Agent Clank, which I've never played. The Great Clock is absolutely beautiful. The design is amazing, and spoiler alert, it makes for some great puzzles. It acts as a quick tutorial for the later puzzles, so there's nothing to write home about here, but we're also introduced to Sigmund, the caretaker of the Great Clock, and I always felt really bad for him. Orvis, Clank's dad, always talked about Clank and never mentions all the work Sigmund did over the years. And you can see that it bothered him. After this, we're reacquainted with Ratchet, and guess who's by his side? None other than the Green Crusader, Captain Quark. I could write a whole essay on this character and how much I love his arc, but let's just leave it at him being as hilarious as he has ever been. The story here is fantastic. Remember Ratchet finding out that he may not be the last Lombax? Well, he isn't, and he's on a wild goose chase to find General Azimuth, another Lombax who conveniently was best mates with Ratchet's dad. And this is where the Great Clock comes in. Azimuth was actually the reason for Tachyon getting all the Lombax tech and banishing their whole species. He was then exiled by the Lombaxes and wants to use the clock to turn back time, and we know as the player that the Great Clock should not be used as a time machine. Azimuth gives Ratchet his dad's hover boot, and this is the biggest gameplay addition, so no better time to move on to the gameplay. Once again, the formula hasn't been tampered with too much. Still the same fun platforming and wacky weapons, but now we have these magic boots granting Ratchet the ability to zoom across the world and access locations that usually wouldn't be accessible in the previous titles. Now that's not to say that the formula hasn't changed at all, because to me this feels like a more collect-a-thon-y Ratchet game. The levels are generally larger and more open, with more branching paths due to the hover boots, and I love this design choice. We know that Insomniac got the action right, but I love collect-a-thons and always wish Ratchet had slightly more to collect. Each level has zonies, gold bolts and weapon mods to find, and if it wasn't for time constraints I would have tried to 100% the game, but Rift Apart is out in less than a week, so time is of the essence. This is also reflected in the ship sections. Rather than choosing your planet from a menu, there are a few sectors in space that we can explore, with little side planets and objectives. Once again, this slight change in the formula made all the difference in making the game feel larger. Tools of Destruction had 3 flaws, and they were all fixed in this game. Firstly, the health system felt fair, and it was rare that enemies would wipe you out in a matter of seconds. The checkpoint system was fixed too, and best of all, there was only 1 useless weapon in this game compared to the 5 in Tools of Destruction. The Tesla spikes here are useless, so I won't waste time on them. What I would like to point out are a few of my favourites, and I would love to know what yours are in the comments. Firstly, the Sonic Eruptor is such a cool concept of a weapon. It's a creature that burps, but there's a timing element so you can deal maximum damage, and ripping through enemies with this was so fun. Second, we have the Groovatron. It was a consumable gadget in Tools of Destruction, but here it's a full-fledged weapon with different songs, and it's as amazing as it has ever been. And finally, the Rift Inducer. This summons a massive tentacle rift that pulls enemies into another dimensions. It's just so inventive. Not everything is perfect, however. The upgrade system is very meh. When you pick up a Constructor mod, it allows you to change one aspect of a weapon, which I wasn't a fan of, especially since you don't get them too often. However, I think the weapon level up is the most rewarding in the series. They level up quite quickly, so you're always rewarded, and apart from the Tesla spikes, I had no issue leveling up the weapons. My favourite part of the gameplay are the puzzles, which is something I never thought I'd be saying. Seriously, these are the perfect level of difficulty. If you jump in head first, you'll more than likely fail, but sit back for 5 or 10 minutes and you'll be able to complete them all while feeling like a genius. Usually I don't like the Clank sections all too much because they're really slow and offer very little challenge, but these offer the right level of challenge that I felt rewarding when I completed. Anyways, with the gameplay out of the way, after a long adventure of saving Azimuth, we finally fight Nefarious, and every single scene he is in is great. He's such an iconic villain. I enjoyed the boss fight a lot. It was a mixture of shooting and hover booting, and as a shock, Azimuth is the main villain all along. The clock isn't to be used as a time machine, and this enrages Azimuth to kill Ratchet. However, Clank remembers the wise old plumber saying, you can use the clock to turn the machine back 6 minutes, which is awfully convenient. So he saves Ratchet and the final boss fight ensues. Azimuth wanted to undo his wrong so badly that it killed him, so, I mean, I'd hate to be him, really. Ratchet and Clank save the world as per usual, and both of them have to go their separate ways so that Clank can be the timekeeper. And it's a really sad ending. Until, at the last minute, Clank promotes Sigmund to the senior caretaker, which brought a smile to my face, and he runs after Ratchet to catch him just before he leaves, and this put a tear in my eye. I keep saying bromances get me, and this is one of my favourite bromances around. I love this ending. However, it kind of leaves at a weird point because there's no danger left for Into the Nexus, but we'll find out what happens there next week. Well, actually, I did something stupid and I played Into the Nexus before I played the other two because I originally thought I'd only make a video on Into the Nexus. So I do know what happens, but we'll find out next week. I really appreciate you watching. There's only one more week till a Rift Apart releases and I can't feckin' wait. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you all in the next video.